As long as you keep the rhythm going, you're floating. As soon as the rhythm stops, you're sinking.
Yeah. Well, what was the old the improv? You could always yes.
Yeah.
Always yes. Never no. Never no, because no stops it.
Yeah. So as long as you keep it going, you're okay.
So that rule, yeah.
Speaking of comedy and farce, what was it like working on Friends?
It was great fun. When they called and asked me to do Chandler's mom, the show was not a big hit yet, but I had seen it, which I don't see everything, but I had seen it a few times, and I thought the kids were really good individually, but really good ensemble work. It's two different talents. Mm-hmm. And I thought the show had great potential. I was right. And so I said yes. And then several people said, oh, you're too young to play that guy's mother, and, you shouldn't do that. And I said, you got to make that transition at some point, I might as well. And I think the show has potential. So I did it, and they promoted it very heavily on me. And the two Matthews, I ran into them in a store, and they were out at luncheon and said, you got us in the top 5. You got us in the top 5. And I thought, oh, great, I'll be back next week, and did 3 years before I come back, but it was great fun because great writing. And a lot of times with shows, we've all been around this business a long time, if you're the guest star, you don't get great lines. You get great setups for the star.
Right.
But with Friends, they wrote great lines for the guest stars, too. And so it was always
generous.
Yeah, it was always fun to do. You always knew you'd have something good to say and fun to do. And the kids were fun and smart, and it was great fun. And then of course it ballooned. So
did you happen to read Matthew Perry's book?
No, I haven't read it.
Yeah,
huge hit.
Yeah,
huge hit.
Yeah, good.
He went through a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was funny because after somebody had told me, you're too young to play that guy's mother. And the first day on the set, Matthew came over to me and said, oh, you won't remember me, but my father is John Bennett Perry, and he played the sheriff on Falcon Crest and on Flamingo Road, and I used to visit the set with him when I was 9. I'm like, oh, God, I guess I could be this kid's mother.
I mean, listen, you got
on
to kiss.
Second thought, yeah.
You kissed David Schwimmer. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Any good, the kiss?
Lovely.
Lovely.
Does
Tongue or no tongue?
Yeah, does it rate up there with all your... Was it one of your best kisses on screen?
Well, probably not one of the best because we got interrupted. But yeah, I think at first they were going to have us get caught in bed together and chickened out.
Okay.
But a little too early for that.
Do you have a best screen kiss?
No, I've been so fortunate to work with several men who were very good kissers.
Okay, well,
and a couple
good.
who were not. But but I don't have really a best.
Yeah.
But I've been very fortunate in the people I've gotten to work with and even get to know, because I do a lot of charity work even through the charity stuff, and I've been very fortunate with the people I've gotten to work with, and I thank the God up there for having a career where I've actually gotten to work with legends that I grew up watching. Betty Davis, Vincent Price. I mean, I got to work with all these wonderful people, Fernando Lamas, and and Jane Wyman, my God, and Cesar Romero. And of course, being an old movie buff, my first day on with Cesar Romero, I said, Cesar, what was it like to work with Marlene Dietrich on Devil is a Woman in 1933? And that's the great thing about the old stars. They're great raconteurs.
Right.
I mean, Vincent Price is one of the funniest storytellers in the history of the world. And his wife, Coral Brown, was also
amazing.
Yeah, just hysterical. And Roddy McDowell used to always have these dinner parties at his house that were sort of famous, where they actually took his coat room closet, his powder room, I guess, and put it in the Hollywood Museum. But you never knew who would be there. I mean, it's like one night I came in and was hanging up my coat, and I hear this, I want to meet Morgan Fairchild. I hear Morgan Fairchild's coming. I like all her AIDS work. Who is it? And Lauren Bacall comes around the corner, And you just get to meet these wonderful people and have wonderful conversations. And they had lives, and they read. They're read, and you could talk to them.
Yeah, they don't make them like that anymore.
You could talk to them about all kinds of things.
And they had humor.
And great stories, yeah.
And great storytellers. Yes.
I wish she was around. She'd be I adored her. As you know, people thought she was tough, is the word
Lauren?
I will use, yes.
Oh, I loved her.
And, when I would tell people, I'm having lunch with Lauren Bacall, or Betty Bacall, if you were her friend, and, she's terrible, she's a this, she's a that. I adored her.
I adored her.
I loved her. You know, she was very blunt.
Yeah.
She said it as she saw it, and she didn't pull any punches. And she would just keep me in hysterics. I would have tears rolling down my cheeks because just watching her talk to people, and you know, she would tell them right to their face what she was thinking.
Yeah.
You know?
There's nothing better than that.
That's very New York of her.
But the old stars, you know, they were great talkers and storytellers, and they had things to tell stories about because they weren't on text all the time. They actually lived.
Well, and they had those big parties. She and Humphrey Bogart, you know, they'd have all those barbecues down at the beach, and everybody who was anybody was there. So they, you know, it was like real living. They just happened to be hanging out with people that everyone was watching on the movie screen.
Yeah. But I just treasure those times. When I first got out here, you know, I'd be at some gala dinner between Stuart Granger and Jimmy Stewart. You know, Betty Davis is at the table, and everywhere, you know, and Olivia de Havilland, and you know,
I met Olivia de Havilland.
Yeah, it was just great to get to
spend the day with her.
Talk to them and find out, you know, and most of them were really good storytellers.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, God, Esther Williams was hysterical. I'm sure you've heard some of her stories. She was hysterical.
Ginger Rogers, I met her too. She was great. Yeah, I wouldn't trade that for anything. Those are great, incredible experiences.
Yeah.
Is there an actor or actress that you would just love to? I mean, you've worked with everyone, but like that you would just love to work with that you haven't worked with? Could be like a friend, someone whose work you really admire. I'm just so curious.
You know, there's a lot of people I really admire. I'm trying to think who's working now that, you know, isn't retired, that I'd like to work with. And I'm sure something will come to me, of course, since you just said that nothing to me.
You wake up like, shit, I'd love to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got a pick for the Oscars? For Best Picture?
No. Have you?
No, I haven't really picked. Well, no, because the ones that people like, I didn't really like very much.
Oh, really?
Some of the ones that they've chosen, I was like, really?
I couldn't deal with that one. What's that one that ran around? Oh, the Asian.
Everything,
everybody,
and everything and nothing, and I'm confused.
No, we didn't love that either.
I didn't.
And
really
Tar, I haven't seen. But the other one that they all loved is that something of Inisherin, you know, the boys.
Banshees.
Yeah, that's it, the Banshees.
Inisherin.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. I don't go to because of COVID. I haven't been out at the theaters.
I think this is the year where you give it to something like Maverick, Top Gun. It was such a feel-good movie and made massive amounts of money. It was so well made. Yeah, was it a big commercial movie? Yeah, but it was
it took you away for a minute, and
okay,
isn't that what movies were made for?
It feels to me like that's the best picture for that year.
You know, do you want to go watch a war movie in the middle of a war?
No.
I mean, you know,
Casablanca.
Well, that's different. I mean, you know, that was a story, and that was a story being told with romance and, you know, surprise, and I mean, God, you can't. I mean, what did we watch? We watched Gone with the Wind not too long ago, just because we have the big screen at home, you know, the outdoor theater, and we set it up, and I mean, Andrew was just like, you know, you just couldn't believe it. It was just so amazing, and
it's grand.
That's a great movie.
Movies are
and
grand.
the music and everything. You just come away like, whoa,
That was a good one.
You don't think of anything